Welcome back to the Predictable Revenue Podcast. I'm your host, Colin Stewart. Today I'm joined by Mike Zayonc. He's the co-founder over at Kodif, and we're going to talk product market fit. Before we jump in, this episode is brought to you by Predictable Revenue's founder coaching program. Founders, let's be real. Scaling a company is tough. You're juggling product, revenue, hiring, and a million other decisions. But what if you had a proven framework and expert guidance to help you navigate that chaos? That's where a founder coaching program comes in. Whether you're trying to find your first customers or fine-tuning your go-to-market strategy, we're here to help. Welcome to the Predictable Revenue Podcast, where sales leaders teach you what's working for them so you can build it yourself. Now to the episode. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Colin. Excited to be here.
Me too. Always happy to have a fellow Canadian on the show. And tell me about how you got involved with Kodif, because it sounds like they were in flight already and you joined as a co-founder. Help me understand what that looked like.
Yeah, exactly. So after seeing the success of Plug and Play, becoming a partner, working with so many incredible founders, like every day I was just like investing, kind of realized like I needed to get more experience as like a founder and scaling like a successful technology company. So as an investor, I just kind of realized I needed more operating experience. And so I made that decision. I'm like, I'm young, I should do this. And so I started thinking about different startup ideas. I was thinking about founding a company and just going like right from the beginning. And I ended up like talking to a lot of my friends who, some of them went to Stanford and some of them had deep startup experience trying to build startups and raising VC funding. And so I talked to this one guy who he actually worked at Plug and Play. Then he tried to found his startup, ended up failing. But he basically told me, he's like, listen, like you can found this startup. I'm sure you'll raise, because I had a few ideas I was working on, but he's like, I have a classmate from Stanford. He's like, he just started this company. You should just join him. Like they just got their first few customers. Like it's already like has a great idea. You can get in really early. And so basically I met my co-founders and basically like I was very inspired, one by the idea, two behind the opportunity we had to really scale a successful business, and three, just like the credibility of like having a co-founder who's an MBA from Stanford who already sold two companies, and then having a CTO who scaled all of Uber's customer support platform from scratch. And so having the ability to like join them right in the beginning, and where the value that I came was obviously like the deep relationships I built from Plug and Play with very large investment firms, very large family offices, and Fortune 500 companies, which is something that not everyone can tap into. So yeah, I started kind of and really focusing, as you described on the podcast, is like helping find product market fit, helping develop the initial like customers, and closing like some of the initial kind of key accounts. And so that's what I kind of came on board and did. And obviously now doing a lot more, but definitely super excited that I joined. And yeah, we raised a number of kind of VC rounds since then. I believe we found product market fit. We're scaling faster than ever, and we found kind of a product that is in a great market. So
Cool. What kind of validation of the company, of the founders, of the product, or the market did you do before deciding to, hey, I'm going to go from this great job as a partner at Plug and Play into being a co-founder at a startup?
as a VC, you meet a bunch of startups and then you decide to invest. But what I did was like more focused. So like I decided on one company to really focus on it. And I think that's what you're doing. If you're an early employee in a startup, you have to evaluate the team and think, is this a company I want to invest in? And so that's why I think like you're making a decision like at a much higher scale of risk, but I think it's valuable. And I always encourage people, like I talk to young people all the time, like, what should I do with my career? Or like, and I always recommend startups because it's like, you're going to learn more and you're going to move faster and there's going to be more kind of intensity than a lot of other roles. So, but yeah, I mean, I looked at all the like the traditional things like the market, the team. Am I excited? Do I like the culture? And so those are all things that I made a decision on, but obviously this was a lot more intense given that I'm now like obviously full-time operating in the business.
Very cool. And talk to me about where the idea came from.
Yeah, so it was kind of them coming together. They wanted to build a startup because they had that kind of trust. They're from the same community. And so they
Hmm.
were poking around with a bunch of ideas. And then Norm basically had this background from Uber, which was extremely profound, which they didn't even realize in the beginning. But then they're like, wait, like you built the most automated system for Uber ever created for customer service. Why can't
Hmm.
we build a company around that? And so our initial customers, our first customer was actually Good Eggs. So Good Eggs saw like you basically can automate like the complex requests like a refund, and it's like a
Hmm.
huge cost savings because like if you're calling in for customer service, it doesn't make sense to repeatedly wait on hold or call in. And like from a business perspective, like you lost your banana like en route for a grocery delivery. Why
Hmm.
can't you just do 2 or 3 clicks and just get an automated refund? Like it's going to be a more accurate, it's going to be a better experience, and it's going to just make sense all around. And even the customer service agent who does these repetitive requests, like they
Hmm.
don't want to essentially even go through that process of like creating a ticket and going through. So it's a no-brainer, right? And so that's what Kodif initially built. And the reason they selected us was just because of the Uber background. So the Uber, and I'd say a lot of the initial customers, like when they're testing and looking to use Kodif, they saw kind of that Uber background and said, okay, I want to have that same kind of level automation or experience as Uber. And they're all kind of
Hmm.
like digitally native brands that we started working with. So they're quite tech advanced and they wanted to find a good partner. So that's how the initial ones kind of came in the door.
Just a random sidebar, but is Clay? I had an experience with their chatbot this weekend, and it basically I screwed up something on behalf of a client, and they're like, their automated chatbot refunded me the credits without having to ask, and I was like, oh, that's I was not expecting that. They're like, yeah, you can only do it once, and I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm only going to screw it up one time this weekend when there's nobody in house or running their support. So it sounds like you provide that experience, but kind of at scale for like, I lost my banana, the driver didn't show, the food was cold, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all like algorithms, right? If you get an
Hmm.
immediate refund, some companies try to build that themselves. Some
Hmm.
companies they'll try to find a trusted partner. So it's kind of all over the maps. A lot of them have a bad experience or they don't have any automation.
I'm resisting the urge to go into just yammer on mode. So I'll put a pin in that. I want to get your thoughts on, the idea came from the genesis of, one of the founders' experiences. How did you go and validate that? I mean, obviously, it's a pretty obvious use case of like, hey, he built this for Uber. That's the leading edge of the space.
Um,
How did you prove out the model that, hey, there is a market for this, and that even though he's written this white paper, there are going to be other companies that want this?
yeah, so I think like two books that my co-founders were really excited about in the beginning, or two that I recommend to other startup founders, or like one is like most famous is like Four Steps to Epiphany, like by
Hmm.
Steve Blank. So talks through like how to build a startup, like what, and this is like well known for a lot of startup companies, but it's like validating essentially does the idea work, and then oh that's great, yeah. So
I think this is actually the Startup Owner's Manual, which is like the book that
yeah,
came
they're
after.
both yeah. So I've read
They're
both.
both great.
They're both
Yeah.
great books and very famous startup books in Silicon Valley. And so I think those books like have a great methodology which Kodif has followed. But in general, like the big thing I think is just getting like in front of a lot of customers. And another book that we like is called The Mom Test. So it's like asking a bunch of like clarifying questions like what does the customer really think? Because the premise is like a lot of people just tell you over and over again if you're a startup like you have a good idea but like how can you go in more in depth and like ask the right questions to understand like what they really think about the product. And so
Hmm.
that's something that we've done a lot of as well as we started just to grow the business and make sure that we're on the right path and we have like a scalable kind of like idea and product.
Cool. And so, where did the first paying customers come from?
So all I'd say a lot of the very first customers all came from trusted sources within our networks. Like, so the three networks that we have had deep relationships were Uber. People trusted
Hmm.
our CTO from Uber. People trusted our CEO from my co-founder from Stanford because he went to Stanford GSB, or they said, okay, like this guy has a good background. or they
Mhm.
trusted my kind of like background from plug and play, or they had a relationship like Dollar Shave Club, for example. Like they knew me from plug and play. And so
Mhm.
now we're like the AI agent for Dollar Shave Club. That was one of the first like kind of marquee brands that we kind of brought on. And so they recognize like, okay, Mike's doing this, like we trust Mike, but then we really trust this that it's not just Mike has a relationship, but like he has like Uber level engineers in the background who can create really automated, like deep, kind of like personalized like experiences for customers. And so I think both all and in all cases, like it required both. It required some like relationship to get in the door, but then it
Mhm.
required a deep level of like validation that this is good technology, that the product works, etc. And so with Kodif, we've been able to provide both consistently.
So first customers came from founder networks. Where did your next customers come from? Like, what was that kind of first repeatable channel for you?
Yeah, so I would say like we had a variety of customers. We just met at conferences. Like
Mhm.
one that comes to my mind is Halo Collar. So like we started like sponsoring like these community events or going to the like these like CX conferences, and like I just met this guy and he was in the community, and he urgently needed like a chat AI experience from Halo Collar. And I remember with never met him before, and basically he kept complaining. He's like, "Oh, my current chatbot is brutal." And like he was very outspoken about it as well. They were a scaling brand. So it's, Caesar Milan is the co-founder from Halo Collar, and they basically
Oh, cool.
started blowing up because they have these like high-end like smart dog collars. And so he needed something. He told us, "I want to test something." So I had one of our engineers build him like a an AI chatbot in 5 minutes. And I'm like, listen, just test this out. Tell me what you think of it. And basically he started playing around. He's like, this works way better than what we have live on our website. And we built it in 5 minutes. And so this kind of like sold him, and he sent it to like his leadership, and they like hardcore like tested the bot like continuously and realize like this is a good experience. This makes sense. So that's, I'd say, like the next level of like customer that like we just met kind of like at a conference, and we've had a lot of those since then. And then in terms of the other channels that have been effective, we've done all the above. We've done LinkedIn outreach, we've done cold emails, we've done referrals. I think the referrals have worked really well because a lot of times people buy from someone they trust, or you get a referral from someone that
Mhm.
or there's some sort of like credibility, because we're finding there's a lot of noise in the market. And yeah, going back, we've tested a lot of things. We tested the AI outbound, but in general, I think having some sort of personal referral, whether it's from an investor, customer, someone that they trust, that those have been the best ways of finding new customers.
Absolutely. I've rambled on about this quite a bit on the podcast, but I'm a big fan of, I think referrals are the biggest indicator of product market fit. And looking at the like percentage of customers that send you a referral is one of the strongest indicators of like, is this going to be something that you can invest $1 in and $10 is going to pour out the other side of your go-to-market engine?
Yeah, exactly. And another thing I've realized about the referrals, because I've spent a lot of time doing this and doing a lot of our like top of funnel and just generating new potential partners. The more like credible or the more like trusted the person is, the better the stickiness of the referral as well. Like a lot of VCs have made really good referrals, investors.
Mhm.
They've been really good partners for us, or just like people with like a deep like experience or trust in the industry. Those people have been like incredible partners for us.
Awesome. Talk to me about the moment where you realized you had something, you might have product market fit. Like when did you realize like, hey, there's something special here?
So I think like we tried a lot of things, and then just like repeatedly customers are selecting the same product, the same AI agent that's easy to deploy, it's a natural language, and they just want to go deeper in that. I'd say it just kind of gradually happens over time where we're seeing more interest in that product. But I think that's the moment where we're realizing it. It's a hot market now. Like people are realizing like it's a no-brainer use case in generative AI. It goes back to that like good eggs example. If you can get a refund for like on a banana or whatever that wasn't delivered. It makes no sense from a business perspective to go and contact customer service, speak on the phone. It's what
Mhm.
we're providing. It's better experience, huge cost savings, makes the team happier. And what we're selling, I think, is a no-brainer. And now it's that comes back to one of the only challenges. It's there's a lot of noise in the market. So it's we have to filter through and just ensure that people recognize that Kodif is a really trusted, proven solution that we're scaling. It's not just something that people are hyping up, or it's in the case of the
It's
bigger
real.
companies, it's yeah, it's a real, and it's not just like we're saying that we're an AI company, because a lot of bigger companies just say we're AI just because it's a buzzword, but we're
Mhm.
going super deep on those experiences.
Very cool. I think the referrals and the repeatability of this is customers are asking for the same thing. I love your comment on, they're asking for the same product and they want to go deeper, right? They're pulling more of the product out of you where they're like, "Hey, it does this already, but we want it to go farther and take another step." And that to me is sort of like the definition of market pull. I'm like,
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like we can keep going deeper. People keep saying like, okay, you're building AI agents and for chat and email, there's so many other things you can go, but it's like in my mind, it's like there's so much more we can do and customers are pulling more and more that they want that we can build on the product. So if we can just keep building deeper and deeper, then it differentiates us, right? Because we've built out a much more robust developed product compared to other companies that they might have something superficial, but if they actually want something proven that is credible, that we can provide that consistently.
it sounds like a really exciting point in time for Kodif. What comes next?
Yeah, so we are super excited to work with like digitally native brands. We have a bunch of like e-commerce companies, like I mentioned, Dollar Shave Club. We're now rolling out with like Liquid IV, so like bigger brands, which is in the Unilever portfolios. We work with a variety of like investment firms who are like Just Food for Dogs is part of El Catterton, right? We want to continue to grow. We want to focus on those kind of key markets. Number one, e-commerce. We go a lot deeper in terms of you who have a physical product and you're selling in a digital channel. And then two, we have a variety of like fintech and crypto customers, like CoinMarketCap, Trust Wallet, like huge kind of like crypto wallets love our product. And then also like the kind of like health or like the mental health, like Alloy or Alma, for example. Alma is like a mental health kind of app that is now using Kodif. Like if they have a lot of customer support tickets, they have a need for a solution like ours. I think the companies that are like slower to adopt the technology, they will take more time, but we want to work with mid-market companies and eventually enterprise customers.
Very cool. Mike, if somebody's interested in getting in touch with you, asking your advice, or they're interested in Kodif, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, so I would say just on LinkedIn, like you can just add me at Mike Zayonc on LinkedIn, or you can just email me at mike@kodif.a.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks. It was a lot of fun calling. Great to be here.
I enjoyed our conversation for sure. And thanks to everybody for listening. We'll catch y'all next time.